Hey everybody, Mr. Seward here, and I'm going to be showing you how to do some more CAD work. We're going to be using a piece of software called Onshape. I don't know if I should call it software. It's a web-based, in the cloud software that you should have logged into. So if you haven't done that yet, set up an account on Onshape. What you can do is go to onshape.com and well, actually go to my Google Classroom and follow the instructions page that's there for how to log into and get an account on Onshape and stuff like that. So I've been kind of looking through drawers and stuff like that in my house and trying to find stuff to use to draw, and I was in my kitchen and I found one of these. This is just a simple measuring spoon. So we're going to actually figure out how to draw this measuring spoon using Onshape. Okay. As a matter of fact, I'll show you one that I did before. This one, the one we're going to do, is dimensionally a little bit is physically a little bit different than this one. I used another one. This was a while ago I did this, but anyways, you're probably thinking to yourself, or maybe you're thinking to yourself, geez, Mr. Seward, I don't have a way to measure stuff or whatever. You might have someplace at home. You might have a ruler. This is a nice metal one, but you might have an older wooden one, which is fine. You might have a tape measure to measure something with. And if worse comes to worse, I know that the distance from here to here on my finger, those two creases, that's about an inch. So if I look at something, I can kind of say to myself, wow, that's that's like half an inch or three. I'm holding this up to my finger right now. That's like half an inch or 3/4 of an inch, something in that neighborhood, and just keep it proportional. I'm not looking for exact. I'm not looking for perfect here. I'm just looking for things that are proportional, I guess is the best way to put it. You are required to do these assignments, so you have to actually get this work done. Okay? All right. So, in a second, I'll get you started with the software. All right, here's the measuring spoon that we're going to create. You can see I've got my name embossed on it. You're going to need to emboss your name on it because you need to actually have a unique identifier, I guess is the best way to put it. So I'll show you how to do this, and we're going to use my measurements. You don't have to do your own right now, but you do have to just follow my measurements, I guess is the best way to put it. Okay, when you start Onshape up, you're going to end up with something. The screen is going to look similar to this. You won't have all these things here because I've been working on this, but you're going to see Onshape, and then you're going to see the word create. Click on create and then hit the word document, and then you're going to put in a document name. So I'm going to put in measuring SCOOP, measuring scoop. So I put in measuring scoop, and my first one was called measuring spoon. You can call it measuring scoop or measuring spoon, doesn't matter to me. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to bring up this familiar work planes thing. So that's a little different looking, but familiar in the same vein, I guess is the best way to put it. So we have front, top, and right planes. I'm going to click on that front plane, and then just like in Inventor or SolidWorks, we can hit the word sketch. Now you can see it just put sketch 1 on this plane, but one of the things what it doesn't do that's like, it's unlike Inventor in that it doesn't just show us that sketch plane. So you can actually go up here to the view cube and click on the word front, or you can right click on your mouse and select down here at the bottom where it says view normal to sketch plane. Okay, and then I use my mouse wheel to scroll in. Now we're going to start actually drawing some of our features on to this sketch plane. So I'm going to start with a circle, and I'm going to come here, and this is the origin, and you'll notice it lights up orange, and I'm going to pull this out and click, and then I'm going to type in a distance, and I'm going to put in 1.25, and I'll press enter. Okay, you can zoom in more if you like. Now, next thing is I'm going to start my line command up, and I'm going to go to my origin again. I'm going to pull this down straight until I get to the about 6 o'clock position on this circle, and you'll notice that it changes, it highlights in orange. That means I'm on it. So I'm going to hit escape one time. Now I'm going to restart my line command and go back to the origin, and this time I'm going to pull it over till I get to about the 3 o'clock position, and then I'm going to hit escape. And I will use these scissors. They're right up here, kind of in the middle of your screen. They look like a pair of scissors. That is trim. By the way, if you hit these down arrows, you'll see other commands like extend and split, which I haven't messed with yet. Over here, we've got our patterning tools, things of that nature. So you hit those little down arrows. This is like project geometry in SolidWorks. And then they have intersection here, which I've never used. So anyways, trim tool. I'm going to hit trim, and I'm going to come right here to this piece that I want to have erase or delete away or trim out. And I'm going to click on it, and it goes away. And I am now done with that particular sketch. Now, I can check mark this, green check mark, and you'll notice it didn't go right to an isometric view here. It stayed right in this straight front on view. You can click on the corners of the view cube if you prefer. You can also select right here and click on isometric or dimetric or trimetric. There's minor differences between these three. Or you can right click and maybe right click isn't there. Well, okay, we'll just use this little cube thing here, and I'll say isometric. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Revolve tool, and this is the Revolve tool, and I'm going to click on this, and it's new, and I'm going to select face and sketch region to revolve. So I'm going to click on that. Now, this lights up in pink, which means that it's required, but it's not chosen yet. So I'm going to click where it says revolve axis, and the revolve axis is going to be that line that went from the origin down to 6 o'clock. And let's see, full is the complete direction, and there we go. Okay, now this is a solid piece, so I got to hollow that out a little bit, and this is the shell tool. It's over here. It's right there, shell. I'm going to click on that, and I want to select faces to remove, and then for my shell thickness, I'm going to put in 0.0625, which is 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to say OK. And just like that, we've got the little scoop part of our measuring spoon. Okay, so coming from the middle of this spoon, which is right here where the origin is, or this cup anyways, I need to put a handle onto the scoop. So I know by measuring that that handle from the middle of this scoop to the end of it is about 3.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out here a little bit and show you this. This is all of our work planes turned on, and I'll show you how to turn these off because it gets a little confusing. If I put my cursor right on top of the word top here, you'll see a little eye, and if I click on that, it actually turns it off. And I'm going to do that with those two planes, and I'm going to leave the right hand plane turned on because we're going to use that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset a work plane from the center of the scoop, which is what this right plane is right now. I'm going to I'm going to offset that work plane out 3.5 inches. So I'm going to select the word plane here, and the first thing it wants is entities, and it's asking for the plane here. And then offset distance is going to be 3.5. And then I'm going to click select. Now, after I do that, this plane will jump out. I'm going to hit sketch, and I'm going to click on that plane right there. I'm going to right click and say normal to. And then I'm going to green check mark. Okay, now I have my second sketch on that work plane that's 3.5 inches from the center of the scoop. And I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see this, and I recommend you zoom in too. And what I'm going to do is I am going to draw a line. And I'm just going to come down here about 1/3 of the way down this thing, and I'm just going to draw a line that goes from the left-hand side of the origin to the right-hand side. I want the total length of this line to be 1/2 an inch, but I want it equally on the left side of the origin and on the right-hand side of the origin. So I'm going to use a dimension here, and this is the dimension tool right here. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to come out here, and I'm going to click on the end of the line and on the origin, and I'm going to put in a distance of 0.25, which is 1/2 an inch, and I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to click on the entire line and click again down below it. I'm going to put in a distance of 0.5. So that gives me my line. Now the reason I did that, and I'm going to hit escape once just to get out of the tool here, is because you're going to use a tool called Slat. Now the Slat tool is below this one. It's an arrow on the arrow here. This tool right here, that's the offset tool, but Slat is a sub menu of that, and I'm going to click on Slat. Now, just like in any of the other softwares, if you put your cursor on here and leave it for long enough, it's going to give you instructions on how to use a particular tool. It does this with all of them. But the idea here is once you click on this, you can just select the line, and I'm going to zoom out now so that we can see our dimension. And I don't know why it does this, but I'm going to double click on that dimension, and you'll notice, by the way, that it's using the centers of the arc is the endpoints of this line. Anyways, I'm going to put in a distance of 0.0625. That's going to be the diameter of this slot, and I hit enter, and for some reason, it just took it a couple seconds. All right, so good deal. So that's the slot that is actually going to form our handle. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the dimension tool again, and I'm going to go from this line in the middle to the top of my part, and I'm going to put in a distance that is 1/2 of that 0.0625 thickness. Now, you might not remember that that is 0.3125. You don't even have to. What you can do is you can put in 0.0625 divided by, 0.0625 divided by 2, and that's going to give you the same result, which is 0.03125 on this thing. Okay, so we're done with actually sketching things here. So I'm going to hit my green check mark, right click, and well, I keep forgetting and right click doesn't work here. So I'll just click on this little down arrow and hit the word isometric and zoom in. So now you can see my sketch way out here in space away from everything. That's at 3.5 inches. And I'm going to want to extrude this. And extrude is this command right here. And it says faces and sketches and regions to extrude. So I'm going to just click on that slot, and it is going in the wrong direction. So I'm going to hit this little arrow right here. And then instead of being blind, the end type is going to say up to next. And that gives me this handle of our spoon extending to the scoop part. And I hit the green check mark. Okay, now I'm going to start a sketch. I'm going to put it on this sketch plane right here. I can just select right to take a look at this, and I'll zoom in a bit. And I'm going to do what's called use. This is it right here. This is sort of like project geometry is. I'm just going to put it in the middle of the handle, and I'm going to click on that. Now I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm going to come right from the, whoopsie, didn't get it. I'm going to come right from this, the origin here. I'm going to go to this endpoint. I'm going to do the same thing down here. But actually, you know what I did forget to do is I forgot to draw one line. I can draw another line from the origin down to here. Now I can go back to my line command and come here to this one, and then I can use the arc tool, which is 3-point arc right here. So I'm going to select the start of the arc, the end of the arc, and someplace out there on the middle of it. And I'm going to hit the green check mark, and I'm going to look at this isometrically now, and I'll zoom in so we can see it. And I'm going to use the Revolve tool, and I'm going to select right in that area where I just drew all that stuff in, and I'm going to hit Revolve Axis, which is going to be this, and you can see it goes around right now. And instead of going full, I'm going to just tell it to go one direction, and I'm going to change this to 180 degrees. And for some reason it doesn't update that unless I hit enter. I hit enter and it did. And then I can hit the check mark, and there we go. We have our scoop with a nice rounded end on it. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off these planes. So I'm going to turn off the right plane first, and that's just as simple as put my cursor on there and hitting the little eye. And then this guy is plane number 1, so I'm going to click on that and get rid of that. So I'll zoom in here a little bit. Next thing we're going to do is there's a slot down here in the handle. So we are going to start a sketch. I'm going to put it right on that surface. I'm going to right click and say view normal to, and there we go. Okay, so we're going to put a slot into this spoon now down here at this end, and I just started the line tool, and I'm going to go to the middle of this. So I'm just kind of searching along here, and maybe I should zoom in on this. You don't really see it any better when I zoom in, but what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the center point of this arc, and I know that it's right about there. And maybe you can see this. I get a little box, little square box. That means center. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to pull this line to the left and select, and I'm going to change the, oopsie, I'm going to undo just one step there. I can do a dimension here is what I want to do now. I'm going to click, and I'm going to put in a dimension of 1/2 inch. Okay, so next thing up is slot tool, and I'm going to pick on this, and it's going to give me that default value that I just put in a few minutes ago when I did the extrusion of the handle. But I want to make this about 1/4 inch, so it's about 1/4 inch, and I click, and I am done with this sketch now. Now I'm going to go and hit isometric, and I'll zoom in so I can see this just a little bit better. And what I want to do is I want to do an extrude, but this is going to be a remove. And then I select faces and sketches to remove, which is that one. And instead of saying blind for depth, I'm going to say through all, and green check mark. Now there's a couple cosmetic things we have to do. One of them is we need to put some fillets on. So I'm going to click on the fillet tool, which is right here. You can see it looks like a fillet actually. And then entities to fillet is going to be this top surface right here of the arc. And this 0.2 is definitely going to be too big of a fillet. So I'm going to put in 0.02, and I'll hit check mark. Oh, something's up with one of these. Didn't like one of them, that's why it's red. Oh, I just clicked on it and it changed it. I'm going to say OK. Then I'll go to the lower corner here. And by the way, you can right click on your mouse, and that allows you to orbit things, so I can kind of twist them around. based on where the center of the mouse wheel is. Anyways, back to fillet. I'm going to use that, I'm going to do the same thing here on the bottom. 0.02, there we go. 0.02, 0.02. I'll hit the check mark. And now I've got a fillet there. And since I'm on the bottom of this, I'm going to zoom out and go down to this end right here. And I'll start my fillet tool again. And entities to fillet is going to be this guy right here, probably that one, and that guy right there. And I'm going to put in a 0.03125 fillet for these three. And I'll hit OK. And then I'll go back to my regular old isometric and zoom in, and I'll do the fillet again on this edge, and my fillet distance is going to be 0.3215. I'll green check mark that. Didn't work. Why didn't you work? Edge to revolve right there. Am I hitting the wrong tool? There we go. Fillet. Entities to fillet. That one. 0.03125. Enter. Green check mark. I wonder why that's not working. Let me check something. Okay, I found out why my fillet on this edge right here won't work, and it's simply this one that I just put in on the underside. So that's fillet number 3. So I'm going to right click on that right now, and I'm actually going to delete that and get rid of it. Now I'll go back to my fillet tool and click on this edge, and I'm going to change my radius to 0.03125. I'll hit enter, and it worked that time, and I'll check mark. And now I'll go back to the underside of this thing, and I'll zoom in so we can see it. And I will again try doing the fillet. I'm going to do this edge and that edge and the one over on the other side of this thing. Zoom out here. I'll orbit it around. There we go. And I'll do that one, and I'm going to put in 0.02. Let's see if that works. Enter, and it looks like it did, happily. So that was simply an order thing. I had to get this set to be. I had to do the fillets in the right order, and that's what happens sometimes. You have to, something should work, but it won't. So just change the order that you're working on it, and suddenly it does. Okay, last thing, we're going to emboss our name on here. So I'm going to put Mr. Seward on here. You're going to put your name on here. All right, last thing to do is to add your name to the handle. So start a sketch. I'm going to click on the handle. I'm going to right click and say View Normal To. Then I'm going to go to the text tool here, and I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click and hold and pull this from the upper left corner to lower right, and instead of leaving default text there, I'm going to put in my name, Mr. Seward. I'm going to hit the green check mark, and the text shows up. Now you can see that this is a little too big, so I'm just going to click on the handle here. I'll move this. Probably not helpful. Let's see. I know I can move this thing in. Let's reposition this here, and I'll click on the line or the edge up here. Well, you know what? I'll just redo it all together. So I'll undo a couple steps here. There we go. All right, back to text. This time I'll keep it a little smaller and a little shorter. There we go. And I'll put in Mr. Seward again. Hit the green check mark. And now my text is there. Okay. Now I'll green check mark this. I'll right click and look at this isometrically. Then I'll do an extrude of the text. So I selected that. I'm going to bring it up 0.01 inches, hit enter, and then green check mark, and there is my scoop. So that is the complete thing. Remember, you have to put your name on it at the end here, and have some fun.